Welcome to Dr. Whispered, a place where stories come alive in the quiet glow of soft lantern light.
Have you ever spent a night deep in the woods? I mean, truly deep, where the nearest town is miles away, and the only light comes from your campfire and the stars above.
There's a truth that seasoned campers know. When the sun sets in the wilderness, the forest changes. It becomes something else, something ancient, and sometimes something watches back.
Tonight, I want to share with you 3 true stories, not urban legends, not creepypasta. These are accounts from ordinary people who experienced something extraordinary and unsettling during their camping trips.
But before we begin, make sure you're comfortable. Maybe dim the lights and listen closely, because some of these whispers are meant to be heard only once.
I've never been the type of person who sleeps deeply. My friends used to joke that I could hear a mouse sneeze from a different room. Growing up, every sound, every creak, every gust of wind, every whisper of shifting floorboards would snap me awake in an instant. Maybe that's why what happened in Colorado still feels impossible. Because on the night everything changed, I slept through something no human being should ever sleep through. It happened during spring break of my junior year of college. 4 of us, me, Kevin, Allie, and Seb, decided we needed a break from exams, from the noise of campus, from everything. We didn't have much money, so we opted for car camping, the kind where you find a random patch of dirt in a national forest, pitch a tent, and hope for the best. People do it all the time, but most people don't end up where we did. We found a dispersed campsite on an app, a spot deep, deep inside the Colorado wilderness. The pictures were old, blurry, and looked like they were taken during late fall, but something about the place felt right, remote, quiet, empty. We left early in the morning. The drive took hours, paved roads turning into back roads dissolving into dirt, and dirt eventually becoming something that barely qualified as a road at all. The deeper we went, the more disconnected we felt. Cell service vanished, radio signals died. The world seemed to shrink into nothing but sky, trees, and us. When we finally arrived, the campsite sat in a clearing ringed by tall pines. So tall, they seemed to lean inward, like they were listening. The air was colder than we expected. Still, too still. The 4 of us unloaded the car, eager to stretch our legs. We pitched our tents, mine closest to the tree line, the others scattered haphazardly around the clearing. 4 separate tents, spaced out without any real thought. We talked, laughed, opened a couple of cans of cheap beer. The stress we'd been carrying for months began to lift from our shoulders. But even then, something felt off. Not wrong exactly, just off. I noticed it when the sun dipped low. The forest around us got quiet in a way that wasn't normal. No crickets, no owls, no rustling leaves. Just a heavy, choking silence that settled on us like fog. But we brushed it off. We were tired, we were overthinking. By 11, we decided to get some sleep. Everyone retreated into their own tents, zipped up, and the clearing fell into darkness. The moment I closed my eyes, everything vanished. No drifting thoughts, no slow fade into dreams. It felt like slipping off the edge of a cliff into total blackness. Then, I blinked, and it was morning. I remember staring at the tent ceiling, confused. I hadn't woken once. Not for the cold, not for the quiet, not for anything. I felt groggy, like I'd been drugged. Heavy, clouded. When I unzipped my tent and stepped out, I froze. Every tent had been moved. Not slightly shifted, not nudged by the wind, not dragged unevenly. Moved, repositioned, arranged. The 4 tents now sat in a perfect configuration, a large square, each one oriented precisely toward the center, where a stack of stones had been balanced with eerie care. 4 stones, each a different size, stacked into a delicate tower that seemed like a ritual marker. My tent had been moved nearly 30 feet from where I pitched it the night before, but inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it. My phone beside my sleeping bag, my shoes neatly placed, the zipper intact. As if someone had lifted the entire tent, my sleeping self inside, and carried it effortlessly across the clearing. Behind me, the zipper of Kevin's tent rasped open. He stumbled out, looking pale and shaken. "What the hell?" he whispered, staring at the stone stack. Then Allie emerged, clutching her arms. Seb followed, wide-eyed. No one said anything at first. We just stood there, staring at this impossible arrangement, trying to make sense of it.
It was Allie who finally broke the silence. Her voice was shaky. "I had a dream," she said quietly. "A long dream. I was walking through a desert, and someone was behind me, counting my steps, over and over, like they were studying me." Kevin exhaled sharply. "I had something too," he said. "I was marching. Someone was walking next to me, in rhythm. I could feel them breathe, but I couldn't ever see them." Seb and I exchanged a glance. Neither of us remembered any dreams, just a vast, empty nothingness. We started inspecting the ground. There were marks showing where the tents had been dragged, long, winding trails across the dirt. But here's where it gets worse. The last 10 feet before their new positions had no marks at all. No drag lines, no footprints, nothing. As if something had lifted them completely off the ground. While we were trying to understand what we were seeing, Kevin knelt down beside the rock formation. His hand brushed against it, and the top stone toppled off, hitting the dirt. The forest reacted immediately. A deep, thunderous rumble rolled through the trees, low, guttural, like massive stones grinding together somewhere underground. The vibration crawled up our legs, into our chests. It wasn't the earth shaking. It was something else. Something angry. Every one of us froze. The forest around us darkened, as if the sun dimmed. I don't know how to explain what happened next. I can only describe the feeling. We were being watched. Not by an animal, not by a person. Something ancient, something patient, something that had been standing with us in the darkness the entire night and wasn't hiding anymore. Allie whispered, "We need to go, right now." We didn't argue. We didn't waste a second. We grabbed our things blindly, half throwing them into the car. No one tried to fold their tent. We ripped stakes from the ground, shoved tangled nylon into the trunk, every muscle shaking. As we slammed the car doors shut, Seb glanced toward the forest. His face drained of color. "Go," he said, barely a breath. "Just go." I didn't even ask what he saw. I started the engine and sped down the dirt road. But after a minute, something compelled me to look in the rearview mirror. I wish I hadn't. Between the trees, just beyond the place we had camped, stood a figure. Tall, unnaturally tall, still a stone. Its outline was human, but wrong, like a silhouette stretched too far. And it was facing us, watching us flee,
watching us leave its territory, watching us escape, for now. The figure didn't move, didn't tilt its head, didn't step forward. It simply stood among the trees, as if carved from the darkness itself. We didn't stop driving for hours, not until we reached a town where the world felt normal again. We made an unspoken pact that day. We never talked about the campsite, never revisited the memory, never acknowledged what we saw. But all 5 years since that trip, something has stayed with me. The sense that whatever moved our tents that night did it carefully, deliberately, like it was choosing something, testing something, measuring something. And deep down, beneath the rational part of my mind, there's a truth I've never been able to shake. That thing in the trees wasn't finished with us. Not then, not now. Some nights, when I wake up suddenly for no reason, I swear I can feel it again. Close, watching, waiting for its turn to move me.
I used to think camping could fix anything. When things got heavy, when life got loud, when my mind felt like it was swallowing itself, I always believed the forest could save me. Fresh air, open sky, silence, simple things. But I learned something that night in Uwharrie National Forest. Some places don't want to help you. Some forests don't want to heal you. Some forests just want you alone. It started as an attempt to salvage my relationship. Cadence and I had been together long enough to see the cracks forming, widening, splintering in ways neither of us wanted to admit. Miscommunication, arguments, silence, always silence. I thought a weekend away, just the two of us, could bring us back together. We chose a small, secluded campground deep inside North Carolina's Uwharrie National Forest. Just 7 campsites, all spread far apart, far enough that you couldn't see another fire burning, far enough that it felt like each site belonged to a different world. We arrived just before sunset. Only one other car was there, a blue sedan parked near the entrance, no driver in sight. We figured they were off hiking or setting up somewhere else. Cadence picked the farthest campsite, tucked behind thick pines where darkness pooled early. She always liked hiding from the world. I used to think it made her interesting. Now I realize it made her vulnerable. We set up our tent and built a small fire. The last bit of sunlight filtered through the trees in thin, dying streaks, painting the forest floor with the color of stale gold. By the time the fire settled, the woods had already grown unnaturally still, like something had pressed a finger against the world and said, "Quiet." We talked a bit, mostly small things, mostly shallow things. Every time I tried to dig deeper, to talk about us, really talk, Cadence pulled away, poking at the fire, pretending she didn't hear me. I was mid-sentence when I felt it. Someone watching us, a presence, a weight, a slow pressure in the air. I turned, and a man stood just outside the fire's glow, half swallowed by the darkness. I didn't hear him approach, not a single footstep, not a snapped twig, not even the shift of leaves. He was simply there, tall, still, expression flat, but polite in an uncanny, practiced sort of way. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "Didn't mean to startle you." His name was Aiden, he told us. He pointed vaguely toward the entrance, said he was the one with the blue sedan. He claimed he was camping alone that weekend, just like us. I wanted to believe that, but there was something in the way he stood, shoulders too still, chest unmoving, as if he'd been carved from the night itself, that made me uneasy. He looked at me only once, just once. But Cadence, he looked at her the entire time he spoke. I tried to keep the conversation light, small talk, surface talk, the kind of talk that ends quickly and politely. But Aiden wasn't in a hurry to leave. He asked simple questions, harmless questions. Where are you two from? How long are you staying? Yet every one of them felt aimed at Cadence, not me. She didn't seem bothered. If anything, she seemed pulled toward him. Not in a romantic way, no. Something else. Like she recognized him, though I knew she didn't. Finally, after an uncomfortable stretch of silence, Aiden took a half step back. "I should let you two enjoy your night," he said. But he didn't turn toward the road. He turned toward the woods, the darkest part of it, and walked straight into it without a flashlight, without hesitation, without sound. I watched until the shadows swallowed him whole. The silence that followed was suffocating. Cadence shrugged it off. I tried to, but the unease lingered long after we crawled into our tent. Sometime deep in the night, I woke up. I don't know why. No noise had startled me, but some instinct, something primal, pulled me from sleep. The forest was completely still. Not the normal quiet of nature, but the dead quiet of a place being watched. Then I heard them. Whispers. Two voices, low, muffled, circling the tent. My first thought was that Cadence was talking in her sleep, but her breath beside me was slow and even. The whispers moved. Left side, back of the tent, right side. Slow, dragging footsteps pressed into the dirt. Circling, encircling. I held my breath as the silhouette of something passed across the thin fabric. Tall, human, but wrong in how it moved, slow and too deliberate. I reached for the zipper. My hand was trembling. The moment I unzipped the tent by even half an inch, the whispers stopped. Not faded, stopped, like they had been shot off. I swung the flap open, expecting to see someone or something right there. But there was nothing. Just darkness so thick it looked solid. I stared into the tree line for what felt like minutes, waiting for my eyes to adjust. But they never did. The darkness didn't want to be seen. I went back inside. Didn't sleep. Didn't close my eyes. Not even once. When morning came, sunlight finally broke the paralysis that had gripped me. I stepped out of the tent and found a napkin tucked under my truck's wiper blade. A plain white napkin, folded carefully. On it, written in clean, steady handwriting, "You should move your tent." Cadence came up behind me. The moment she saw the note, she froze. We didn't need to talk about what it meant. We didn't want to. At that exact moment, almost as if he sensed our fear, Aidan appeared again. This time from the direction of the main road, not the woods where he vanished the night before. He approached slowly, hands raised, like he didn't want to scare us. "I heard things last night," he said quietly. "I didn't sleep at all. Something walked past my car more than once." He looked genuinely frightened. Or at least, he did a good job pretending. He said he was planning to leave by mid-afternoon. He said we should too. "We're not safe here," he added. That phrase, "not safe," felt like a hook sinking into my spine. We packed fast, faster than I thought possible. Every few seconds, I glanced toward the woods, expecting faces to be staring back at us. We were loading the last of our things into the truck when we passed Aidan's campsite. He was kneeling beside his blue sedan, staring at something on the ground. When he shifted, we saw it. His front tire was slashed, a deep, clean cut, not torn by debris, not damaged accidentally. Precision. He stood up slowly and asked, almost too calmly, if we could give him a ride. Before I could answer, Cadence grabbed my arm so hard her nails dug into my skin. Her voice shook. "Do not let him in this truck." I swallowed and told him we couldn't. I felt sick denying him, but the fear in Cadence's eyes outweighed the guilt. He didn't argue, didn't get angry, just nodded once, like he'd been expecting that answer. "Please call 911 when you get service," he said. "We all need help here." His tone chilled me more than the words themselves. We drove off. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then, Cadence inhaled sharply. "Stop." I hit the brakes. She pointed to the woods on the right side of the road. 3 figures stood between the trees. Tall, thin, completely motionless, facing us. They weren't hiding. They were waiting, observing. The longer I stared, the more distorted they looked. Like their limbs were too long, like their posture was too straight, like their stillness went beyond human. Cadence whispered, "Go, go, now." Her voice cracked. I slammed the gas. We didn't look back. Hours later, once we reached the highway, I finally had cell service. I called 911 and told them everything. They said they'd send someone, said they'd check the campsite, said they'd look for Aidan. They never called back. 3 days later, I tried calling again. The call wouldn't go through, not even to the general department. It was like the whole report had been swallowed. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder what happened after we left. I wonder if Aidan was taken, or if he walked willingly into the woods, or if he was one of the things hiding there to begin with. But the truth that keeps me awake isn't about him. It's about those 3 figures in the trees, the ones that didn't move, the ones that watched us leave. The way they stood there, silent and patient, felt less like a threat and more like a selection, like they were choosing which one of us they wanted, which one of us they'd come for later, which one of us they'd follow home. And some nights, when the house is quiet, when the world goes still, when the dark outside my window feels too dense, I swear I can see them again. 3 shapes, unmoving, waiting, just waiting for the right moment to step closer.
After the divorce, I didn't want comfort. I didn't want company. And I didn't want anyone telling me everything would be okay. I wanted silence. I wanted a place where the world couldn't reach me, where I could be swallowed whole by something bigger than my own thoughts. So I chose the Montana wilderness. Hundreds of miles of untouched forest, no trails, no ranger stations, no campsites. Just land so old, so indifferent, that stepping into it felt like entering another world. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not because I wanted to disappear permanently, but because I wanted to disappear for a while. The deeper I drove into Helena, Lewis, and Clark National Forest, the narrower the road became. At first, it was gravel. Then gravel became dirt. Then dirt became little more than a suggestion carved between the trees. Branches scraped against my truck like long wooden fingers. The late afternoon light dimmed with every passing mile, swallowed by the towering pines above me. Eventually, the road simply ended. I got out, planning to back the truck into a spot where I could turn it around later. That's when I saw it. A tent. Old, olive green, collapsed inward like a lung that had exhaled for the last time. The fabric was stained with dark patches, water, dirt, maybe mold. It didn't look like it had been touched in months. At first, I thought it was trash left behind by some careless hunter. But when I crouched to look closer, the zipper on the front hung half open, like someone had burst out of it, or like something had slithered in. Inside, the smell hit me. Stale rot, sweat, and the metallic stench of long-abandoned belongings. There was a sleeping bag, gray with age, empty cans, boot prints stamped into the dust, and beside the bag, almost hidden beneath it, a notebook. I pulled it out and stepped into the fading light. The cover was soft and warped from moisture. The pages stuck together at the corners. But when I opened it, my stomach turned.
Tally marks. Row after row after row of them. 7 per line. Page after page completely filled. Some pages were neat. Others shaky, like whoever wrote them was freezing, injured, or exhausted. But the count never stopped. Days? Nights? Something else? A chill crawled up my spine, the kind that warns you a place isn't empty, even when you can't see anyone. I backed away from the old tent, clutching the notebook without meaning to. I should have left, driven away, gone home and slept in my own bed. Instead, I told myself something stupid and comforting. Whoever owned this tent left a long time ago. It's just an abandoned site. Nothing to worry about. I set up my own tent across the clearing, far from the old one, but still close enough to keep it in my vision. I'm not sure why I wanted to keep it in sight. Maybe to reassure myself it wasn't moving. The sun dipped behind the trees quickly, leaving the clearing covered in the kind of cold darkness that makes you think twice before breathing. I made a small fire, cooked a quick meal, sat alone with the crackle of flames and the notebook beside me. I should have thrown it away. I should have left it in that rotting tent. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, especially in the dark, especially in a place that's too silent. As night fully settled in, the forest became unnaturally quiet. Not just peaceful quiet, dead quiet. Like something large had hushed the entire ecosystem. I climbed into my tent, zipped it shut, and lay down. Sleep took me too quickly, too deeply, like I had been pulled downward instead of drifting off. The first time I woke up, I didn't know what time it was. The fire outside had burned low. The air was cold enough to sting my lungs. But that's not what woke me. It was the whispers. Soft, faint, human, right outside my tent. At first, I thought it was the wind moving through the trees, but the sound was too deliberate, like breath forming half-words. The kind of murmur you hear when you stand outside a room where someone is having a private conversation. But here, there was no one else for miles. I held my breath, listening. There were multiple voices, at least 3, whispering to each other, low, urgent, like they were discussing something they didn't want me to hear. Then came the footsteps, slow, measured, circling the tent. Twigs snapped, leaves crunched, dirt shifted under bare feet. Bare feet. I didn't need to see them to know that. You can hear the difference. My heart raced. I reached instinctively for my rifle, pulling it close. The whispers grew louder near the entrance of my tent. I could see shadows shifting against the fabric, long, thin shapes bending and stretching unnaturally. Then, the zipper twitched. Just once, like someone had grabbed it gently, testing it. When it didn't open, the scratching started. Light at first, then harder. Something sharp dragging across the door of my tent, tracing the outline of the zipper in slow, deliberate strokes. I shouted the first thing that came to mind. I have a gun. Everything stopped. The scratching, the footsteps, the breathing. Silence swallowed the clearing whole. Then, quick footsteps, running, scattering. 3, maybe 4 people darting into the trees, their movement chaotic and sudden. And then, it was silent again. I didn't sleep a second after that. I sat in my tent, holding my rifle, listening for any sign of someone returning. None came. When the first pale light of dawn filtered through the trees, I stumbled out of the tent, exhausted, shaking, and froze. The old moldy tent was gone. Not collapsed, not moved aside. Gone. Completely. No trace. No imprint in the dirt. No smell. Like it had never been there at all. But the footprints, those remained. Dozens of them, bare feet, circling my tent in overlapping loops. Some were small, others larger, but all were human, or at least shaped like humans. They weren't from the day before. These were fresh, deep in the soil, left behind only hours earlier. One trail of footprints led toward a large pine tree near the clearing's edge. On the trunk, fresh tally marks carved into the bark. 7 groups of 7, and the beginning of an 8th, exactly like the notebook. As I stepped closer, something brushed lightly against my shoulder. A thin fishing line. My eyes followed it up to the branches. A squirrel hung from it, skinned, its small body twisted unnaturally, as if posed, its head turned toward me. It swayed gently, although there was no wind. Something in me snapped. I backed away, shaking, my breath coming out in panicked bursts. I didn't pack carefully. I threw everything into the truck, forgot half my gear, nearly left without my keys. As I climbed in and started the engine, I made the mistake of looking back into the clearing one last time. And I felt it. Not saw it, felt it. A presence, watching me. Standing just beyond the edge of the trees, silent, still, hidden in the dark between the branches, the same place the old tent had been. I didn't stay to confirm. I drove until the forest thinned, until the sunlight felt real again, until I reached cell service, civilization, noise. But even now, months later,
I haven't opened the notebook again. It sits in my garage, hidden beneath boxes. Sometimes I hear faint scratching in the house, soft whispers when the wind isn't blowing, footsteps in the hallway late at night. Sometimes I find small marks, little clusters of 7, scraped into my fence, my porch post, the wood near my bedroom window. And some nights, when I wake suddenly, heart pounding, I feel watched, observed, counted, as if something followed me out of that forest, as if I'm just another mark waiting to be recorded. If I had stayed one more night, I know exactly where I would be now, hanging from a tree, or rotting in a forgotten tent,
or carved into the bark beside those tally marks. Another silent number in a count that has no end. If you're still here, still listening, then you've walked through every shadow with me tonight. 3 stories, 3 warnings, 3 reminders that the dark corners of the world are never truly empty. If you felt something watching you while you listened, don't worry. That feeling usually fades, sometimes. Make sure to subscribe and stay close, because every week the woods grow darker and the stories grow deeper. I only tell the ones that let me leave. Until next time, sleep lightly, listen closely, and whatever you do, don't follow the whispers outside your window tonight. Good night, and good luck.